If you've got a BC620 from Vermeer, I'm repowering mine. And if you're doing this for work and you're making money off this machine, go buy a Kohler replacement and bolt it in. It will be much easier because while the cost of dollars out on putting in the Harbor Freight is going to be less than the Kohler, it is not simple in terms of getting your time. So if you're making money on this thing, by all means, go buy the Kohler. If you're not making money and you're doing this for yourself, then yeah, come on down and I'll tell you what you need. So in terms of parts, you're gonna need obviously the engine. You're gonna need a PTO adapter. I'll get into that in a second. On this side, you're gonna need a new bushing for the flex coupling because this PTO adapter is 1 inch and the old one was pretty small like that. You're gonna need a plate to mount the engine to the frame. You're gonna need a shaft extension because the Harbor Freight shaft stops right about here and you're gonna need more to get the pulley on. And you're either gonna need a new bushing or you're gonna need a new bushing and pulley. My pulley was shot and this 1 inch Harbor Freight shaft, you can get a 1 1/8 inch extension. So it's a sleeve to about here and then it's got about this much meat. So you trim it off so that the meat here hits the meat of the Harbor Freight shaft and then you bolt it in tight and then you just kind of level out your pulley wherever you need it. Also, you're gonna need some kind of adapters for the exhaust because the belt guard goes here and obviously there's not a lot of clearance coming off of here to try to get that. So I bought these to do the exhaust, but the guy had the pictures where the flange started here at the threads, but he sent this one's too long. So he's resending them. That's gonna be, flange is here and then this part's all thread and this is the maximum length of the whole thing that I can then bolt on there and then just get some kind of elbow up, a 90 to come straight up on both sides and have two separate 1 inch threaded exhausts. Talked about the shaft here. You're going to have to measure that and cut that off. Before you take off the old engine, get a plumb bob and draw the edge of the shaft on this side because you're going to need that to know how long to trim this shaft because the one I got was too long. You're going to want some gap between the hydraulic pump and the engine. You're going to need, so use the plumb bob, figure out where the edge of the shaft is, draw that down here, and then you're also going to need to do it over here. So that way you can at least get a center line for when you're putting the new one in, how to adjust the plate before you weld the plate on. Because if you're cattywampus, when you weld this, you're never going to get your belts in alignment, and the flex coupling is not going to help you any on that side either. So you got to weld this, and I cut it with a plasma cutter. I had to cut off 9.5 millimeters off the bottom of this to get the center line, which I measured from the old engine, which was 155 millimeters from the floor here to the center line. And then once I put in the new engine, I knew I had to cut using whatever mount this was. I had to cut 9.5 millimeters off, but then even with my plasma cutter, it's a little off. So then to make it all even, just get wood blocks, cut them the length of whatever the highest one is, and put them under both sides, get 4 of those, and then that way it'll be level. Weld that down. And then you've also got to figure out this guy. So this, the manual says when the belt is tensioned, you should have a 1/16 inch clearance between the belt and this guy as well as this guy. So this Harbor Freight has 5-inch bolt holes. I think the old engine had 143 millimeters. It was some random number. I couldn't find it. I ended up measuring it. So you got to drill bolt holes to accommodate the 5-inch bolt hole center on the Harbor Freight, and then make sure you've got your clearance. That's why I haven't done that. What I'll probably do is weld washers once I get this thing fabbed up, set with the belt and my clearance. I'll put washers on there, weld them on, tack weld them on, so that I know that the clearance is correct. And then you're also going to cut a little bit out here because obviously your exhaust is coming out here, and that's going to hit your plate. So you got to cut that off. Then put on your new pulley with the QD bushing. You got your new plate, got the exhaust you're gonna have to figure out. And then over here, you're gonna need, as I said, the new flex coupling 1 inch shaft, and then tie that into the PTO, and that should be it.